Good afternoon, welcome. Dear Professor Yossi Klafter, President of Tel Aviv University, Professor Jacques Prost, and Professor Michael Rosman, the Laureate of the 2016 Sackler Prize, dear colleagues and guests. In the name of the prize committee, Professor Kozlov, Professor Urbach, and myself would like to welcome you all to the ceremony of the Raymond and Beverly Sackler International Prize in Biophysics. This is the ninth time that Tel Aviv University is awarding an international prize in biophysics, and the third time that we are awarding the prize without an age limit. The Sackler Prize has been established through the generosity of Dr. Sackler and Beverly Sackler, who wish to promote excellence in this emerging and interdisciplinary field of science, a field that lies at the crossroad between physics, chemistry, engineering, and the medical sciences. The prize is awarded each year in a different discipline of biophysics. This year, the area has been chosen to be physical principles of biological systems. More specifically, the field relates development of novel and ingenious experimental methods, as well as theory and modeling that are based on fundamental physical principles. They include techniques that enable experimentation and measurements under previously unreachable conditions and with unprecedented precision, such as in intercellular force generation and cellular motion, as well as high-resolution diffraction to decipher the atomic structure of protein and viruses. Furthermore, physical concepts such as elasticity, thermal fluctuation, the formability of soft biological objects opened up new and exciting area of research in biophysics of membrane, DNA, protein, biopolymers, and subcellular organelle and processes. For the year 2016, the prize committee has decided to award the Sackler Prize to two internationally distinguished scientists with an extraordinary record of accomplishment in biophysical research. I call upon Professor Yossi Klafter, President of Tel Aviv University, to welcome the laureates.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Laureates of the 2016 Sackler International Prize in Biophysics, Professor Jacques Prost and Professor Michael Rosman, Vice President of Research and Development, Professor Yoav Hennis, the local committee of the prize, Professors Andelman, Urbach, and Kozlov, colleagues, friends, and students. I'm delighted to attend again this prize ceremony sponsored by the Sacklers, both Raymond and Beverly Sackler. And this prize actually highlights two objectives, or two, I would say, important flags that we try to really raise here. One is biophysics as an interdisciplinary field. Biophysics by itself is very broadly defined, and even if you look at the two laureates, one is on active material, the other one is high-resolution diffraction, so two different topics, quite broad and interdisciplinary. And the other one is looking at Israel at large at Tel Aviv University as a hub for the visitations of renowned researchers from the world. Now, both the interdisciplinary nature of the field that Raymond likes to call convergence, he heard the word once and he fell in love with it, and also opening the world to researchers from all over the world. All these were very dear to Raymond Sackler over the years, and I would say that We have to remember that Sackler has been with the university, I would say, for over 40 years. And these were the days that visitations to Israel were less, I would say, active than now. And his vision was that he will create something that will attract researchers, another attractor for researchers. Sackler connected to the university through the Faculty of Medicine. He and his two brothers were psychiatrists, and they met, I think, the second or third president of the university, Professor Yuval Ne'eman, and he convinced them that it's very important to support higher education in Israel. Both came from the medical I would say, the medical world, and they established the Sackler Faculty of Medicine, which exists, of course, very proudly until today with 17 affiliated hospitals. But already at that time they understood, or he understood, the importance of going global. And 40 years ago, he created what now is known and imitated by other universities. He created the American program for students in medicine. And this is the Sackler School of Medicine, known in the United States as it's called the New York State American Program, that brought American students to the university, and it was passed by the state of New York as a program which is recognized in the United States as an American university. And this is something very, very successful. Today, every year we have about 60. We cannot accept more by Israeli regulations, but the line of those who really would like to enroll is about 400. So it's the first brick, I would say, in the Sackler family involvement here. Then if you look around here, it's a brand name on campus. Sackler is very generous, but it's very important for him that his name is known everywhere, and his wife's as well, although she always claims that he forced her. So exact sciences, the faculty is the Raymond and Beverly Sackler Faculty of Exact Sciences. Within the Faculty of Exact Sciences, the School of Chemistry has the same name, the School of Physics has the same name, and the School of Mathematics has the same name. We have chairs that carry the Sackler name. The Institute of Advanced Studies that we have here is the Sackler School of Advanced Studies. This is not with Beverly. This is the three brothers. And very recently, Center for Computational Chemistry or Physics or Material Science. Okay. And of course the prizes. And the prizes were again his vision to have the place filled with first-rate researchers. I would like to say that the word convergence drove his fascination so much that he recently established in the United States a Convergence Prize, which is given by the US National Academy of Sciences. And he was extremely proud that the first winner of the Convergence Prize in the American National Academy of Sciences was Chad Mirkin, who was the first winner of the Sackler Prize at Tel Aviv University. So for him it was kind of all worlds come together. Now he's in love with Tel Aviv University, this is true, but he is a big donor of the Metropolitan Museum. I think the Egyptian wing is the Sackler wing. The British Museum, the Met, the Metropolitan Opera in New York. And the fact is really that there is enough there for more and more and more. I told the Laureate yesterday that recently when I met him in New York and I tried to get some more funding for the university that he loves so much, and I tried to convince him, and I told him, you know, Raymond, I need Israeli funds as a fuel, as gasoline to move the system. He told me, Yossi, you are so right, but you are drying the well. So the guy is 96, really still very active in his pharma company, and we wish him all the best for, as we say, until 120. can be more. And what can I say that we are very thankful to the family, and congratulations to the laureates, and have an enjoyable continuation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Klafter. I call upon Professor Michael Kozlov to introduce the first Sackler winner, Professor Jacques Prost.
It's my great pleasure and honor to introduce Professor Jacques Prost, the recipient of the 2016 Sackler Prize in Biophysics. A few words about Jacques' career. Jacques graduated from École Normale in 1965 and completed his PhD at the University of Bordeaux in 1973. Then he left for a couple of years for the States and did his postdoctoral training at Harvard University, and then came back to France to take a CNRS position in Bordeaux, where he became, after some while, a co-director of Liquid Crystal Research Group. This was the first field where Jacques worked in the beginning of his career. About 10, 12 years later, in 1987, Jacques moved to Paris as a founder and director of the Theoretical Physico-Chemical Group at ASPCI, which is a school of industrial physics and chemistry, of applied physics and chemistry in Paris. Between 2003 and 2013, Jacques served as a head of this school and as a general director of physics and chemistry research units. And beginning from 2014, Jacques has been emeritus research director at CNRS in France, and at the same time a distinguished professor at the National University of Singapore, where he is now and for the future. In 2007, Jacques became a member of the French Academy of Sciences, which is a great honor. Now a few words about Jacques' scientific achievements. So, the major achievements of Jacques are in two fields. Physics of liquid crystals first, and then cell biophysics. And of course, generally in soft matter physics, where most of us work, which is close to biophysics, overlaps a lot with biophysics. And an unusual, extraordinary feature of Jacques' career is that he started as an experimental physicist and then switched to high-level theoretical research, but kept his feeling to the experiment, apparently, which enables him to collaborate with experimentalists in both in physics and biology up to now, which is a great thing, of course. Jacques is one of the major founders of physics of active matter. This is basically, as I will detail at the end, is the reason for this prize today. Physics of active matter is, in its essence, statistical physics of non-equilibrium systems with explicit active element in it, active elements producing energy or generating forces, such as molecular motors or active ionic pumps. Jacques basically created this field of physics of active matter by generating the major ideas and promoting them over the last 15 probably years, so more or less. These major ideas have been applied for treatment of specific biological phenomena, and just to list a few of them, it's a mechanism of movement of bacteria within cells, such as Listeria, within cell, formation of intracellular transport intermediates, such as membrane tubes, under the action of pulling molecular motors, and the mechanism of hearing based on the concept of critical oscillators. In recent years, Jacques and his collaborators developed theories for understanding properties of tissues based on active collective behavior of cells. The prize is awarded to Professor Jacques Prost for seminal contributions to physics of active soft matter and the applications to intracellular processes. I call upon Professor Joseph Klafter to award the prize to Professor Jacques Prost. I call upon Professor Michael Urbach to introduce Professor Michael Rosman, the Sackler Prize Laureate.
It's my great pleasure and honor to introduce Professor Michael Rosman, the recipient of 2016 Sackler Prize in Biophysics. Michael Rosman completed his PhD in chemical physics at the University of Glasgow, Scotland in 1956. During his postdoctoral studies in the laboratory of Max Perutz in Cambridge, Michael Rosman worked on the structure of first 3D proteins ever to be determined. In 1964, he joined the faculty of the Department of Biological Sciences at Purdue University, where he became full professor in 1967, and since 1978, he has held the chair of Henley Distinguished Professor of the Biological Sciences. Michael Rosman is a member of National Academy of Sciences of the USA and has been awarded many significant prizes for his achievements. Michael Rosman did several seminal discoveries in high-resolution structural studies of proteins and viruses. He developed the method of molecular replacement to solve the phase problem in crystallographic analysis of proteins and viruses. He was one of the first to recognize the potential of cryo-electron microscopy for structural analysis of viruses and protein complexes. In 1980, Rosman's group determined the structure of Southern mosaic virus with angstrom resolution, and later the structure of human cold virus. More recently, in the current year, he determined that to an angstrom resolution the structure of Zika virus using single particle cryo-EM. The prize is awarded to Professor Michael Rosman for his pioneer contributions to high-resolution diffraction analysis of atomic structures of proteins and viruses. I call upon the president of Tel Aviv University, Professor Joseph Klafter, to award the prize to Professor Michael Rosman.
Professor Jacques Prost, the laureate, one of the laureate, he would like to say a few words, and also if Professor Rosman also would like to say a few words after Professor Prost.
So I'm particularly happy to be honored by Tel Aviv University today, and for many reasons, and one of them is very personal. I grew up in a small city between Lyon and Geneva, where the best shoe shop was, after the war, called Petit Jacob shop, and so small and Jacob shop. And it turns out that before the war, this shop was called Jacob shop. And when the Nazi army came in Burg, invaded, the Jacob family disappeared, and everyone around assumed that they'd been, fleeing to nearby Switzerland. But the minute the American troops freed the city, they showed up again. And it turns out that during all that time, they were hidden by the Petit family. And Mr. Jacob was a very nice man, and he decided to share the ownership of his shop with Mr. Petit, and that's why it was called Petit and Jacob. I've known these two persons. They were extremely friendly person, and it's kind of emotional to me that I grew up in that atmosphere. So thank you very much. And so then I'm very thankful to Beverly and Raymond Sackler. I heard from president of Tel Aviv University how Raymond Sackler is impressive. I knew he was weighing $14 billion, but I didn't know, how sharp this man was. So it's very good, and 96 give me some hope. I'm also very grateful for the organizers of the prize, so David Andelman, Misha Kozlov, Michael Urbach, and thank you very much. I'm thankful to the speakers of this morning. We have beautiful talks. That was a wonderful morning. And last but not least, I'm very grateful to Nina Wolfe-Lazar, who did a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Professor Rosman, would you like to say a few words?
First, I would like to thank the committee for giving me this great honor. I'm still amazed that it is happening. Am I walking in a dream? I don't know. So how did all this come about? Well, this is kind of appropriate for this being in Israel. I was born in Germany of a Jewish mother and a non-Jewish father. I had considerable difficulties because of that. I had to go to a public school where I was treated as a Jewish boy who was beaten up by the teachers and other boys. However, there was one teacher who was very kind, and he happened to live in very close to where I was living, and so he allowed me to walk with him on the way to school and back from school. But nevertheless, this was quite dramatic for my early life. And so in early 1939, I was given the opportunity to be in a boarding school, Quaker boarding school in Holland. And in the meantime, my mother emigrated to England. And essentially, we met again in the summer of '39. I was due to return to Holland to the school because my schooling had been paid for all in advance to the age of, 18. But fortunately, the war, the Second World War, broke out about 3 days before my return to Holland. And I wasn't able to return to Holland, which was indeed a very good thing because all the other children in that school did not live after Germany invaded Holland. In England, life was very different. I was happy in school. I was appreciated in school. I could do many things which I could not do before. I could think. And I grew up really as in English environment, a British environment. I feel that is really my early home. As you heard, I eventually got a PhD at the University of Glasgow, looking at molecules. At that time, this was the kind of limit of Kozlov, and I'll be saying a little bit more about that in my talk presently. I went to America for the first time as a postdoc. I worked with Bill Lipscomb, who later got the Nobel Prize. That was in Minnesota, University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. I learned there something about computing, which is because I always had been very interested in computing. When I was in school in England, I was so fascinated by doing arithmetic. I bought myself for a cost of 3 shillings, which was quite a big sum of money for me at that time, a book of 7-figure log tables, because I was so fascinated with that. Then I was intrigued by the mathematical problems of solving structures, of what technically is called solving the phase problem, so that I knew that Max Perutz, who himself had come to England from Austria, was working on the structure of proteins, which were 100 times bigger than anything else ever solved before. And that was a challenge. And he, fortunately, allowed me to be a postdoc with him. I later discovered that I wondered, why did he take me? I really knew nothing about biology or proteins. But he was having difficulty in getting anybody to work with him because, as my major professor from Glasgow informed me, Perutz, he doesn't really do science. He's not a scientist, because what it was considered that his attempts at looking at large proteins was ridiculous and wasn't really sound science. But of course, that was an opinion which was not really quite right, and I had a wonderful time developing with Max Perutz the first structures of proteins. And eventually that led me to where I will be telling you in the talk. And I am enormously grateful for recognizing my small attempts at understanding nature. And thank you also particularly to Nina Wolf, who was very kind in making all the arrangements for me to come here, and all you gentlemen here who have welcomed me so warmly. Thank you.
Thank you. So this concludes the formal part of the Sackler Award ceremony. We will take a short break of 5 minutes and come back, let's say, at 3:10 for the 2 scientific talks of the Laureate, first by Professor Rossmann and then by Professor Prof. I just want to end this formal part by again thanking Ms. Nina Elazar-Wolf, our devoted administrator who helps us every year, and all the flawless management that you can see, this is thanks to her. If there are here and there small mistakes, this is mistakes of, first of all, myself and my 2 colleagues. So Nina, we just have one request. Please stay with us also for the next year to come. Thank you so much, Nina. Okay. So in five minutes, and we will start.